So you've worked for decades, you crossed the finish line, and instead of feeling free, you feel lost. Hi, I'm Julianne Price with Life Edit and Design, and today we're talking about how to deal with the fact that things aren't the way you thought they were going to be when you stepped into retirement, and now you're panicking. And my first piece of advice to you, and it's probably not the advice anybody else would give you, is pause. Don't rush. Don't panic. It's okay. There's a reason why you feel the way you do. You have been a striver. For decades, you have done everything that came across your plate. You handled all the responsibilities. You juggled all the plates. You were excellent at this. And all of a sudden, there are no plates to juggle. No one needs you. There's no crisis to solve. And you feel lost. Well, of course you do. No one has prepared you emotionally for retirement. There was probably a lot of financial planning that went into this. You had experts help you on coming up with the right plan and making sure you could afford retirement. You put away money, you're ready, but no one sat there and gave you some emotional skills and tools and told you what it was going to be like when you go across the finish line and you started a new challenge, a new race, a new passion. And that's what I'm here for. I'm a second act coach, and I help you decide, what am I going to do next? Who am I? What is my purpose as I move into this new phase of life? And again, my very first piece of advice to you is pause and don't panic. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was so upset in retirement that he actually went back to his old employer and said, "Can I have my job back?" And I just felt so bad. I was like, no, you're not ready emotionally for what's ahead because you just haven't had the time. And if you give yourself some space, you'll find so much beauty can come forward. But first you have to get past that panic point and just say, this is okay. This is a new skill. You have a whole new identity. Why would you feel like in a snap of your fingers you would be ready for it? Of course not. You're not prepared. Let's take some time. And the first thing you want to do after you've paused is start to look at the possibilities, start to reframe it. Look at this blank, beautiful canvas and say, what are my values? Before you had to live to maybe your corporate mission statement or your corporate values, and you were fulfilling those, and you had your family values and how you want to take care of your family and raise your kids, be a good spouse if that was part of your plan. But now it's you. This is all about me time. This is me time on the big scale. What are your values? What do you want to do? What do you need to stand for? And just take some time and some journaling. And there's no race here. Maybe you feel like the clock is ticking, you're into retirement and you should be out there doing all the things that you see on social media feeds of people traveling. No, you don't even know if travel is part of your picture yet. First, just sit back and relax and say, who do I want to be? I get to pick and choose from this buffet of all these wonderful options. What do I want to do? Do I want to stand for something? Do I have a passion that was always hidden and I never had a chance to explore because I just never had the time? Do you want to be more authentic? That was one of my top core values. Was I was molding myself into who I had to be in the workspace and at home. And my number one value when I retired was, well, number one was freedom and number two was authenticity. I just wanted to be free to be myself, to say what I thought and not have to worry about being politically correct anymore, and to go after the things that really interested me. And for me, that's a little bit of the woo, the magic, the mystical. But I never talked about that in my professional life. And it wasn't something I even talked about with my family because it's not a shared interest that we have. But I have the chance now to do that for me. And those are the things I'm starting to pursue. So as you start to identify these core values, things that were really suppressed in your previous life because it just weren't acceptable for whatever reason, now it's time to let that out. And one of the things I noticed, I do an assessment, and I offer this to you. It's down below in the links. But when I did my archetype assessment, and I realized that I did an archetype assessment for how I deal with money and things, and I saw that I had an accumulator type who was very orderly, very rigid, very structured, and I'm very, very responsible with my money. And that was how I needed to prepare for retirement. So I'm very, very happy with that accumulator. But as I moved into retirement and I redid the assessment, my maverick came forward. And my maverick is the rule breaker, is the one who wants to do things just big, bold, and the way that I want to do them. That authenticity came out when the maverick rose up. So the accumulator dropped way down and the maverick came up. And the maverick was always suppressed in the workplace, right? You had to follow the rules. And in the family, there was a lot of tradition, a lot of ways you were supposed to raise your kids. And I bought into that. And now that I'm free, again, having that freedom, and I can be authentic, the maverick finally had her chance to shine and had to take the spotlight. So knowing your core values and knowing what your archetypes are now that you've crossed the finish line, because they're going to change a little bit, now I have a chance to really see what's possible when I break the rules. And one of my other archetypes was the alchemist, who has this ideal, this vision, but she also has a little bit of that mystical, magical woo. And I never had a chance to really let her out. And now that I'm retired, again, that's another core value, is just exploring the universe and the connection to everything that's out there. And I just didn't have the time or the bandwidth or the acceptance to explore that. And now that I'm retired, I can. These things need time to bubble up. They're not going to just happen all at once. You want to take an assessment to really learn who's out there in this little mix-up that you have in your brain. Who's the archetype that really wants to come forward, who's been suppressed and wants to come out and play? So having that pause, having that time to reflect, time to identify what those core values are and who do you want to be. Knowing your archetypes really helps you decide, who do I want to be as I move into retirement? And my friend who wanted to run back into his old roles, I can understand that. You get pulled back into what you know you want, or maybe you're seeking another opportunity that's so similar to the role you played in the last opportunity. And I would say, please don't do that. Give yourself this time, this magical pause to breathe, reflect, and find out who you want to be, not who you know how to be, and not who society has told you should be, but who do you want to be? There's so much freedom now that you have the ability to create your own schedule and follow your own passions. And take some time to really, really reflect on that. I hope it gives you a chance to breathe. And then once you have some of those values identified, now you want to look for things that are outside your comfort zone, outside your scope. Don't go back to the comfortable, what you know. This is an opportunity to reinvent yourself. So after you've paused and not panicked, done your reflection, then it's time to start looking for opportunities and look for them as experiments, little micro experiments. Try things out. And that's where volunteering is great, because it gives you a chance to sample and step into different things without this big commitment, but just step in and try things out and say, how would I feel if I took on this role? And people love volunteers and they're happy for whatever you can contribute. So you don't want to give your life. That was one of the big mistakes I made, was going too deep into my volunteering roles. Test them. Do it like a sample, a tasting. Like, picture in front of you a flight. You have a flight of all these options, like a flight of wine or a flight of cheese or whatever. Imagine it's a flight of chocolate. That's the best one. Imagine you're just sampling. You're just taking tastes of different things to see which one really clicks with you, which one really aligns with these new core values that are finally able to be expressed. And this might show up in your home, might show up in your friends and family, the social network you build, might show up in your passions and your hobbies, and it might show up in this new purpose. Who do you want to be? What's the cause you want to champion? What's the wrong that you've always felt like you had a chance to right? Or maybe it's just the people that you've always wanted to serve that you couldn't. Your purpose does not have to be grand. It can be something very small, like taking care of pets, taking care of people, something small. It doesn't have to be you're going to change the world. I think some people feel like retirement has to be this big grand gesture. It doesn't have to be a trip around the world. It can be small. Take these baby steps. That's why I love the idea of tasting, the sampling. What turns you on? What lights you up? What really lets some of these archetypes bubble up to the surface? And I'm here to help you. If this is something that you're struggling with, take the quiz below. It'll give you some of those assessments, but it'll also give you insight into your energy, what energizes you and what drains you, because it's going to change as you move into this next phase. You want to look at those things that really energize you, what lights you up. I talk about energy being the currency in the second act. First act, it was all about money, right? You needed the money to make all the things happen, but now you've done that part. So in the second act, you need energy as your currency. You need to keep this vessel moving. You got to stay strong and you got to stay healthy, which means staying in movement, staying in motion. And you also need to find those passions that light you up emotionally. That's where a lot of the energy comes from, is doing things that you love. So if you're panicking right now, let's take a pause. Then let's evaluate what your core values are. Take the assessment. Find out what your archetypes are, because it gives you great clues. And then start to experiment. Test things out. Don't commit to anything. If this period takes you 6 months, a year, that's okay. You want to do this right. You want to step into retirement that lights you up. You've worked so hard. You've earned this. You've crossed the finish line. Now let's taste what victory looks like. What does freedom really feel like? And at first, freedom can feel a lot like being lost in the woods. But if you give yourself time, you will find your path forward. Don't run back and get your old job. Please don't. Find a new identity. This is a chance. So at the end of your life, do you want to say, I tried on one identity and I stayed there my entire life? Or do you want to say, I sampled things and I found my true, authentic voice and I did what was really important and that lit me up? And that's how you want your second act. This is about you. It's you time. All right, we'll see you in the next video. And I hope that you're excited and energized. Take the quiz below and I'd love to talk to you.